The little like you talking about the like the sharp little knife joint, the little triangular looking
Yeah, the
joint.
thing
Yeah,
you mix paint
yeah,
with. Yeah.
painting or a palette knife.
Ah, palette
Yeah.
knife. Word. Is it like builds up those layers type thing? Like it you can like scrape it into there and everything like that, and like
Mm-hmm.
you like cut into it and stuff like that. Put those chunks there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah. It's
joint.
almost like you're kind of sculpting a little bit.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. I've seen some paint that does that. Watercolor can't do that, but everything thicker than watercolor can essentially do
You
it.
ain't try or no?
Yeah, I
I
tried it with
mean,
acrylic. The
well,
thing about acrylic though is that acrylic dries a little bit too fucking fast.
yeah, but it's great.
It's great.
It's
It's cool, but
it's
it's also the thing about acrylic is that it's dry really fast. It by itself, its vibrancy is a little bit too much for me. It doesn't
hmm,
really mix very well to my opinion.
okay.
And it just needs a lot of more not a lot more outside work or finesse, which I don't really like. It's a lot more it's not more in tune to more illustrative work that, is more uh looking for more vibrant pieces, you know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? Uh, whereas like if you're going for like a naturalistic or like naturalism painting, you'll probably go with something like ooh, almost fell down the steps. Something with like oils. Oh, I see what you think.
What do you mean by
Something
like
like that.
natural painting though?
Naturalism. It's when it's you good, Brandon? You good?
So,
Can you do me a favor? Can you pick up all them socks that's behind your basket? Can you pick up all them socks? Can you pick up all the socks that's behind your basket?
That's how Chris needs
Um,
to talk to Adam, bro. The way he be talking to Adam sometimes is mad disrespectful, bro. I be ready to
huh?
put my hands up. The
What?
way this nigga
you,
be
you,
going
you
on, be
don't want
like,
to be
yeah.
calling him
Oh
Adam.
wait, my bad. Not even Adam, Camille, bro. That shit's fucked up. Camille, I can't see. Go
What does
clean
that
your
say?
fucking
That
room.
is a lie, and you better
That shit was
stop.
crazy, bro.
but
I was like, oh my god, oh my god.
It's a
this
lie.
can't be happening. Should I say something? Should I tell someone?
Oh my goodness. But what type of
Was that? Was
again?
that?
You was talking about naturalistic like painting. What did you mean by that?
Uh, it's it's like naturalism was more specifically, which I'm speaking of more like a general term. More specifically, naturalism was a art movement
Okay.
where it's kind of a response to realism, whereas
Hmm.
like realism was more like a romanticized version of real life,
Okay.
and naturalism was more like an actual natural uh realistic depiction of life where it would just take like actually use like more natural colors, more natural lighting and stuff like that.
Okay.
um
So they were putting more saturation into the colors of stuff they were painting that was supposed to be real life at first. In the
yeah,
in the thing you're
something like
talking about, and they were probably doing more where they were doing more like brightness and stuff like that, like making things just feel like epic, if you will, or like
What you would consider more appealing.
yeah, yeah, okay.
mm-hmm.
And they took the saturation down and was like, no, that's not true. Like, what it will really look
Yeah,
like
Way
is
a bit
this.
more true to real life. Okay,
Okay, that's what natural
yeah,
living is. Okay.
like
yeah,
not
exactly.
not as romanticized as
Mm.
Mm-hmm. So that's like an image of a naturalistic painting, which is like
Yeah.
I feel like is would be really hard to pull off with acrylics. Definitely can
Right.
be
Because they're
depending on
so
what level of finesse.
saturated.
Yeah, and it's like it's completely fine because again, like it's like every painting has its pros and cons.
Of
So
course,
it's like
yeah.
if I am looking for something that does dry, that I need something to dry for, like I usually use acrylic with when I'm doing something mixed media,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm doing something a little bit abstract or something illustrated based,
Mm-hmm.
or it needs just to do something quick. Definitely will go with acrylics, and probably some other type shit. I don't know, because you could do whatever the fuck you want with acrylic. But
Mm-hmm.
if I'm doing something that I guess I want to be more the especially if I'm doing something that I literally just want to use one media, I will go
Yeah.
with oils. But I have a plan. I want to just paint with just one thing. I'll go with oils.
Is it because
Watercolor.
oils
Uh-huh.
allows you to be like a little bit more creative? You don't have to like you don't have to create a blueprint for everything you kind of put down or something like that.
Sorta. It's like it's more so because like it's just good on its own. You know, it just kind of survives on its own. You don't really need to mix anything else in it
Mm-hmm.
with it. At least for me, I just like use it just by itself.
Okay.
It does have a lot of freedom just because of the way the paint just feels. It feels really good. Um, Not as hard as acrylics. It's really smooth, especially in the mixing and stuff like that.
Right.
And watercolor is great. Definitely just takes a lot of patience. Takes a lot of patience and planning and shit with watercolor. But I like watercolor a lot because it's just the way obviously it's just the way it looks. There's just no replicating it in any other type of painting form. Like you
Mm.
can't replicate that kind of look. You know,
Yeah.
like it just so it's like watercolors like just sitting there, just like yeah, you either gonna use me or not. Otherwise, you ain't never gonna get something that looks like me, bro. It's just like all right, bro, you got it.
It's not true anymore.
That is true.
It's
That is
not
very true.
it's not true anymore.
That is true.
All right,
I
bro.
mean, I'm saying what you saying is true. Not bad. What you saying is true. That is not true anymore. You
Okay.
right.
I was like, oh,
I just heard back. It sounded weird. But yeah,
yeah, the fluid acrylic joints that I was using,
yeah.
the
Those are
fact that
really
you can
those are
add
really the
water to
best.
them joints and make them
Mm-hmm.
look like watercolor, it's kind of dope
Mm-hmm.
because like well, I kind of have been experimenting with a lot of different things, and I kind of like how Stealth Freeze uses a lot of different stuff that he uses, and
Mm-hmm.
I think in a video he had said like, yo, like I use my my fluid acrylics first to put down my darks in my picture, and then I go over
Mm-hmm.
them. And I thought about it for a second, and I was like, the thing the thing that's difficult with watercolor, I guess, if you don't have this perfect plan, is basically when you're layering things together,
Mm-hmm.
and watercolors can reactivate when wet the color again. Definitely if it's like a recent painting you're
Yeah.
doing. So obviously, if you put down something like your darks or your shadows down, if you do that with acrylic, it's gonna stay down. It's not gonna reactivate. So you don't have to
Mm-hmm.
worry about that necessarily mixing together with that color that you're going over top of it with or anything like that. It's gonna stay down, and it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be consistent. And I was like, that's really smart because when you do watercolor anyway, or I would say when you do transparent media, you're basically building layers on top of other layers.
Yeah. You working with very opaque and just trying to build up to that. Not opaque. You up at like very transparent. And trying to build up to that opaqueness and stuff like that. Right to that opaque color that you getting for. That's why a lot of I feel like well, there's different ways of how people handle shadows, but a lot of watercolor paintings, um, they always have the shadows very transparent,
Mm-hmm.
where the side where the light is hitting it the most is very vibrant, where the most layers are. And
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the reasons why I really like watercolors. I always like that way of utilizing shadows. I always like that like fade off thing. I used to
Mm-hmm.
do my art a lot like that back in the day. I don't really do it that much now, but I did like it a lot. Um, yeah, it's good shit. Good shit.
Yeah, I've been leaning more into trying out more things to just kind of nail down what it is that I kind of want to like go for. And it's funny, I
Mm-hmm.
like watercolor, but at the same time, I'm like, yo, there's one paint that I haven't tried yet that like everybody I kind of like enjoy. Not everybody, but a lot of the people I enjoy their art, they've kind of tested out and tried. I'm like, yo, you know what? One day I should get into gouache. One day. And I keep saying one day. And I bought all these other paints. I bought the Ghibli paints. I've
You
got fluid acrylic, like everything except for essentially gouache. And I say that because I already got into watercolor. Got into markers, got
mm-hmm.
into watercolor. Those are really the ones that I was interested in. And I messed around in watercolor for a bit, and markers for a bit. I'm like, all right, well, I want to try something different. And I was gonna get gouache before, but then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get this poster color because that's what that is. And poster color is like this in between of like gouache and watercolor as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like it's interesting because supposedly the colors in poster color are even more vibrant than gouache is on a consistent level. They're really
Okay.
saturated like colors, and they're like they stay like that, and you can like I think you can use water with them and make them a little bit more like transparent and stuff. But for the most
Mm-hmm.
part, they do really well with the whole like keep adding on top of each other type thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, I really want to try out gouache. There's a bunch of people on Instagram I know use gouache. Alex Ross uses gouache. So it's just a bunch of people. I'm just like, you know what? I want to try gouache.
I was using traditional stuff. I used to always, when I was mostly using like watercolor and stuff like that, I used to always look at the work of Bill Sienkiewicz,
St.
Sienkiewicz,
Cabbage, yeah.
Bill
Sienkiewicz. Yeah,
Sankovic.
One day we'll figure it out. One
he
day.
said it. I remember I was like, I
Bill
completely
St.
forgot.
Cabbage.
Yeah, he said it somehow. And it was I either remember it being stupidly dumb easy and stupidly dumb and different than how it actually spelled because fucking white people are
Oh,
dumb. Or he said it was he said it as just as difficult as it looks. But I'm pretty sure if you look it up, because I remember him like obviously with a name like that, you probably get a lot of people misspelling. And he was just like, yeah, it's spelled it's pronounced like this, and it's just like
I hear
you
it's
know
a.
I said, but I completely forgot.
I hear that's a similar thing that happens with the guy who draws Hellboy.
Oh,
Like he
yeah.
his name is also not said how it looks. It's actually like Mignana or something.
Mike Mignola.
Oh, Manana,
Mignola.
Mike Manana.
Yeah.
Mignola.
But yeah, you're on stream, but just let you know.
I'm on stream.
Yeah, we're on stream. I told you like we're gonna put this on
Well,
stream.
chat, I want y'all to know that Bill Sienkiewicz
Is that how you
doesn't
say
have
it?
any lips. I don't know. Bill Sandwich doesn't got any lips.
Oh my
Wilson. He
god.
he he definitely don't. That nigga's my favorite comic artist though.
Oh,
I really
Bill?
like this stuff. Mm-hmm.
You know what's funny? You know how Dill loves what's the dude from Spider Verse? Kingpin? The whole like really
Mm-hmm.
big round joint, like the
Yeah,
shape language joint.
he
I think
originated
Bill
that.
was he's the original.
Mm.
Like he created that
He
form.
made a lecturer.
Really? Like
Mm-hmm.
he created the
They
character?
him and Frank
Oh,
Miller. They first
co-creation?
originated a
Wow,
lecturer. Mm-hmm.
that's awesome.
It was during like his time with Frank Miller, and he did Electra, and then he did Daredevil. Did a Daredevil issue. He didn't create Daredevil, but he did a Daredevil issue.
Mm, okay.
Um, yeah, it's pretty dope. Pretty dope. I really liked that issue too. It was really nice.
Electra's
Some
an interesting character. I never know
he's
what they're
still
doing with that character though.
still to this day. I feel like he's the only nigga that actually. Well, there's another nigga that does have similar watercolor technique as him. I forget their name. Um, that Joe's Electric kind of similar, but like, why is these images not uploading? Hold up, I
You
gotta
know
change.
what?
I gotta change my phone. Anyways,
Why
uh,
Los
uh,
post this?
Because I wasn't joking, but I was actually literally put the dog up.
wow. So Discord just not. Oh wait, I don't want to post it there anyways. What the fuck? Discord upload these two images. Why smack the shell?
Discord did nothing wrong except for take away rhythm.
Discord did everything.
That was YouTube.
Oh,
Yeah, that was YouTube.
oh,
Yeah, these are just I really like
I was
the
just
way he
looking at that
handles.
Daredevil. The way that this dude uses the color red is great.
Yeah. Then when he's able to just fucking do what the fuck he wants with like straw toasters, straight toasters, fuck.
oh
Straight toasters is
yeah.
just like I'm just like, bro, this nigga is insane, bro.
I think
Yeah,
my
because I never really saw
Straight toasters? What does that mean?
you could read the comic and you still probably would not get it, bro.
Mm.
Like I
Oh, it's
read
the
that shit.
comic called that. I'm like,
Yeah,
what is
yeah.
what?
Yeah, like it's that
Yeah.
comic is literally just the embodiment of what this nigga's brain is like. It's like I've got when I read that shit, I was like, yeah, that seems like something like this nigga would make, bro.
I
Cause what the
like
fuck?
I like what is going on with like the depth here and the color. Like the color is kind of it's not like too flashy. It's like he understands what he's doing with it. But like I like how he kind of I know he plays with style manipulation as well. Like he switches things every now and then for different
Yeah,
characters and stuff like that, which I find awesome that he can even that's something he does. But I like the depth perception he's doing. Like when something's really like coming forward in space, it really like comes forward, and everything else really does fade to the background. This guy's using watercolor?
he
Probably
used
mixed
mixed
media.
media.
Yeah. He does
Yeah,
seem like
but
that type
most
of guy though.
yeah, some of those definitely is watercolor. But yeah, he definitely uses like whiteout. I remember reading his technique. He back in the day, he had this device. I forget what the fuck it's called, but it was this device that he would use, like this old machine that he would use.
Okay.
That it did. I forget what the fuck it even did. It was like something started with a fucking O. And I remember reading that shit. I was like, wow, to like just to use all this shit. Like I remember just reading. I was like, yo, the fact that he uses all this shit and does not give a fuck about anything, about anything except for making the image look cool. That's what I want to live by, bro. Like that's literally what I want to do with my art. I do not give a shit what I do, how I do it, and what media I use. Like just trying to restrict yourself to like specific media and stuff like that, or like
So,
to a specific like kind of style or like
mm-hmm.
expression. Is like just the way he switches things up depending on the mood. Like if you read like some of his issues, like that's exactly
See,
what I
I was
like.
happy to see that because like when I think of what I want to do storytelling wise with like my comic and stuff like that, I
Mm-hmm.
always thought like I wanted to do something similar to that, but
Mm-hmm.
I knew it would get confusing for the readers type thing. But then I had to think about it more, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it, and I just gotta make sure I keep doing it. That way to get used to it. And
Mm-hmm.
the other thing is like um, if you've read you've read
What?
Blade of the Immortal, right?
Yeah.
And if you pay attention, the guy who draws it is switching styles based on the mood of the situation or the moment that's
Yeah.
happening. Sometimes he'll do something in pencil, as far as like pushing the depth of an image with just the values from the pencil. Sometimes he switches over to just like this really nice brush strokes on a character to like heighten the sense of the moment there. Sometimes he does a little something else. I forget what else it is, but basically he combines that stuff sometimes even. And you know what happens when like one of the characters gets a kill and he makes a whole frame around it and stuff like that and a big deal. Like I love that type of stuff, honestly, and that's kind of like what I want to do. But it's like I think that that stuff is cool
You wanna
cuz
have fun in art, bro. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I don't
That's all it is.
see all right, so it's like that, but it's like for me that's my sakuga.
So say I kill you right now.
Like think about it, right? Sakuga is usually done by usually like well the famous Sakuga that we know about because I can't say everything, right? But the famous Sakuga we know about is usually a cut that has been given to a person to highlight a particular moment in the scene, right? And they have whatever amount of time they have, and when they do it they have like a more limited budget in a way, like their stuff doesn't usually look exactly like everybody else's animation that's been a surrounding that's going to surround that particular cut of animation. It's going to be heightened by their kind of flair, the way they do the character models, the way they do the directing, maybe what they want to play with the line work, all that type of stuff is it's up to the person who's directing that cut, right? For me, I want to do the
Mm-hmm.
same thing with my comic. Like, yo, if I'm doing like a scene where I want this person to essentially be drowned in depression, I want to visually make sure that that hits a certain way. I could just make it look like everything else in the scene if I wanted to, but I think playing around with that type of thing is just funner for me. Same thing when I want to heighten the senses of a reader who getting into a really dope fight scene. I might want to play around with depth. I might want to like heighten your sense of the setting that they're in. I might highlight that, and then you as a reader are taking in the environment more, and then I could do that with each tool you use
The funny,
has a different feeling to it and how you use
yeah,
it. It's like that's what I want to play with.
yeah. And it's like you could do that stuff so subtly, and a lot of people don't even like even approach it in ways that could be very subtle and almost like non-taint, like it's not affecting their style, like their artistic style, their whatever. It's like I remember you mentioned, I remember saw this post on Facebook about Bleach, and
Hmm.
it was like just a normal harmless post of them comparing the panels on the manga compared to the anime and to the colored panels. And I
Okay.
was just looking at the anime and I was looking at the colored panels, and someone shared it and captioned it saying like, this is seeing this comparison is one of the reasons why I will always recommend people to read it in black and white. And it got me to thinking like, yeah, because the colored panels in the anime adaptation was just bad. It's like
Mm.
the way the color palette they went with for the scene. It was when Ichigo first got his hollow mask, or at least when the the orange haired girl, what's her name?
Orihime.
Orihime, yeah. When she first saw him in the hollow mask, right?
Yeah.
He turned back, he turned here and looked back at her and stuff like that. She was like, what the fuck? So, he was
Hmm.
like gasping and shit. It was a serious thing. It was like a legitimate like fright or shock for her. In in the black and white, obviously in black and white things are different, right?
Yes.
Than when you're doing color. But in the color version, the color panel and in the anime, they just choose like this default basic fucking color palette of every character, you know what I mean? They have
Yep.
their basic color palettes and they just ruined the whole entire mood of that sequence because of that. It's like really subtle and it could be even seen as a pet peeve, but it destroys when you see it in comparison straightforward like that. You see
That's
how
why
much
JoJo is
that
great.
shit. That's why JoJo is great. That is literally why JoJo is great, and why every like any comic that utilize that same kind of method or anything like that is really it hits different. It hits different. It really does.
When you say
It
JoJo is great, are you talking about the new adaptation of Part 6?
Just in
not
general, how
well.
they
It's just yeah, just in
actually
general. It's
they
like
they always play with the color schemes the same way Araki does.
Ah, okay,
yeah.
good, good. Yeah, yeah.
Depending on the mood,
Mm-hmm.
they'd use like really different colors and everything. But you always know that it's happening. It's like, oh, I know these characters aren't like this. It's just the craziest thing just happened. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
because
they
you're
never
you
trusted. They never trust their
yeah,
audience to be like I don't understand, man.
because you as a viewer are going through this and like there was a shock, you automatically associate that color change with that. Like it doesn't even feel uncanny or anything because it's just like, yeah, this is how I'm feeling.
Right.
You don't even think
Mm-hmm.
about it. You don't even pay attention to it.
Exactly. It's
See,
like it happens
it's
in
so cool.
cartoons too. It
Mm-hmm.
literally happens in cartoons all the time, like Western cartoons all the time. Like Ren and Stimpy, whatever them niggas do something stupid, they always have this like weird change in fucking color palette or fucking Tom and Jerry, fucking all these different cartoons. They will always have these wild change of color palette to show you the impact of the scene or what's happening. And like I'm a stupid dumb kid, and I still understand. And like that's the whole entire point. Is like this shit is naturally readable. Like it's just naturally readable. Like if you complain that you don't understand, you're literally going out your way to not get it. You're literally
Mm-hmm.
going out your way to not understand. Because like naturally you won't notice. Naturally you shouldn't notice. Like naturally you obviously you just could not notice the difference because the mood fits the colors. That's why every color is associated with a specific mood, or at least not specifically associated, but we as people associate certain colors with certain moods.
Yeah.
And that's why when you associate those colors with a certain mood, like this is naturally readable to you. So it's like the in movies do it movies literally go out their way to do it. Cinematography, editing, all that type of shit is like that's part of
Yeah, they
filmmaking.
hire specific people to
Exactly.
do that job because not only that, but like they hire specific people because they already probably have that style under their belt that they've done that for some other film. And they're like, yo, we need you to kind of like, yo, like we need you to do orange and blue, like we need
And
you to
I'm
do that.
tired of not seeing that shit in like animation enough. I'm tired of seeing that shit not like if niggas always be climbing like, oh yo, this animation is so cool, this anime is so cool. If your anime is not utilizing different color palettes and shit like that, I don't fucking care. They're not groundbreaking in my opinion.
You know what's
It's so
crazy?
easy. It's so easy, bro,
I
to
heard
make
they do
fucking
that.
fight scenes nowadays.
Yeah, I don't like to get into it about fight scenes. I'm not. It's funny. I'm a fight scene guy, but because of that, right? Because I'm a fight scene guy, I don't, I don't, I don't impress easily. You know, like
Yeah.
that. You know, it's just like I look back sometimes and be like, I can't believe they animated that with that level of care in the 80s or the 90s. I think I have like little periods of time in my head where I look back at an anime that was created back then and go, "Oh, I get what they did there." Like, "Oh, that was kind of crazy." Like, you know, like every fight in Ninja
Always.
Scroll was really entertaining and well kind of put together. Even the guy with the beehive like in his body.
That short fight, yeah,
It
like
was
that
like,
shit was great.
"What?"
That shit was great because it made sense too. It wasn't just him like cutting his head off or doing something stupid like that. You know what I mean? Like he actually like killed him in a very strategic and different way than how he like. That's like the
Yeah.
fights in there
He
were
w-
all specific and different. You
it,
know what I
it
mean?
wasn't
It
like,
wasn't just
oh, I am a strong samurai or ninja
it
guy,
wasn't
and I'm
just
just gonna beat
yeah
everyone with my ninja skills and my
with my
sword.
sword, the sword of the
It's
stranger type shit.
like,
Like
no, like this guy's
okay,
a
cool.
problem. How am I gonna fight all these bees? I gotta get out of here. Like, I gotta think of something
Yeah.
else. Like,
I think that's the funny thing is that people always think of that when showing a character killing a bunch of enemies with their sword, that shows how much of a good warrior or swordsman they are. But I feel like showing a person actually learning and adapting to new situations, that showing them on near death and literally fighting and surviving, I think that shows more of their tenacity and their skill than the other way around.
yeah,
It's
like
like
that one Sakuga scene in that one anime you showed me. What's that joint? What's it called?
Someone with
Uh,
that nigga that kept looking all over the place for no reason.
no, the guy is a black hole in the movie, and he saves the guy, and he gets him out the black hole. There's a fight scene. It's in like, every Sakuga video ever. It looks like a Jackie Chan scene, and this guy on the rooftop, and he's fighting this dude with a sword. Come on, guys, come on.
he's fighting a dude with a sword. He
Yeah,
saved him in a
he
black
doesn't have
hole.
his suit of armor that he gets later in the movie. It's a movie.
Oh fuck!
Is
Somebody showed you it in there?
Yeah, y'all showed me that. Y'all even put it on.
Hmm.
Oh
Uh,
fuck!
Cities
all right. So
only.
this guy has a
Oh,
headband. He's in Japan. His friend had blown himself up or something like that. He tried to save him, didn't work out. Then some dudes show up. He's fighting him on the roof. What is
Oh,
that?
Spriggan.
Yes, freaking.
Yes, Spriggan.
okay,
Spriggan was
okay.
fucking
Yo,
cool.
that fight scene is crazy, bro. Like they
That
really
shit was
studied the
good.
heck out of some Jackie Chan and said we gonna animate that. I'm like, what? Like they made
Yeah,
their
that
own
whole
thing.
entire
Like it's so cool, man.
that shit was great. But yeah, like you absolutely right. Fight scenes are it's literally all spectacles. Like it's wonderful. It's like it's cool. You know what I mean? But it's like how much it's like getting surprised by particle effects. You know what I mean? It's pretty, it's cool, and it's still impressive, but it's like I already seen that. I already seen this exact same choreography and directed the exact same way 100 times already. I
Yeah,
don't want to see it. I
I,
don't want to see
I tell people
it.
all the time, if you wanna just get into it for the fight scenes, you can't beat stick death. Just go look up stick death. And they have already reanimated every dope fight scene in existence and outdone them and strung them together and everything. You don't even know which movie you're looking at, but it's from a movie or it's from an anime, it's from something, and they just strung it together in a combo, and it's just like, oh, it's amazing. And but it's just like I want to see something like just make a new situation and actually try to think about it. Just I love fight scenes with a certain level of thought put into them. Even if they're comedic, they don't have to be so over the top. Like, like uh I watch a lot of different things. I can get it. Like, I can get into the super fighting stuff. I love my ground combat, but I can still get into super fighting. I can get into weapons based combat. Like, all types of stuff. The Jackie Chan stuff, the stunts. Like, yo, like I'm gonna jump off of this thing that's in this mall and drop down and kick someone all the way down an escalator and they're gonna slide. Like what? Like like I love those little set pieces with the martial arts as well. That's great, but a lot of people these days aren't doing that. It's very flashy. It's very impact frame heavy. It's a lot of that. And I'm just like, yo, like what about just good footwork? Like what about not even just stakes necessarily, but just an actual back and forth. That that's something I miss. You guys remember back and forth? A little okay, he's winning the fight, then it switches over and that person winning the fight. Like
Yeah.
it's not just this, oh, he has the sword and he's gonna kill all these guys, and it's just that is an action sequence, bro. That's not a fight. That's a combo. That's not a fight.
Mhm.
Like, that's not a fight. Like,
I
it's
still
cool.
think one of the best fighting choreographers that were short lived was Masahiro Ando.
Mm.
Wholeheartedly. He did that. I think one of his most notable things was from it's like an old gotcha man like scene where he's like he does the multiple kicks while he's in the air and he jumps back and he just fucking, you remember that? Just said a lot, at
I
least like
don't.
in recent years.
I don't. Throw it
Um
throw it up in the Discord so I can check it. Oh my god, this Thor.
okay, I'm gonna show you.
Jeez. This is really dope.
My link like it link it in Discord. But yeah, he has such great choreography, and it's like it sucks that he hasn't worked on more things. And the things he has worked on is like he didn't really direct it or anything, so it's
Mm.
like very few things on that. But it's like the thing is that he also did a lot of cool stuff for um
Oh my
what's the
god, this
movie?
is yeah, I've seen this
Yeah,
before. I
for
haven't seen it in a
Sensei.
while, but yeah, it's dope.
That's a good one too from Sunshine.
Wow.
Like even in this ridiculous fucking thing about to show you right here, it's
I,
like
I love
the
how he's utilizing, I'm sorry to cut you off.
what?
I love how he's utilizing the length of this character. Like, he looks
Yeah.
so darn long. And he's doing all these kicks and these hops, and it still looks like plausible. He's not like even fully extending sometimes because he doesn't need to. But with the backflips,
Mm-hmm.
he's doing it. But like with some of the kicks, when he gets close enough, it's like, yeah, it's good enough to like just do these short kicks. It's dope. It's really dope. Is this the Shinchan joint?
Yeah, so even with that like really ridiculous move that guy does, completely unrealistic and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you see her just kind of blocking, but even within that blocking sequence, it's like there's so much character, and you can see every single hand motion she does, every single move she blocks. You can
And her
see it.
expression,
You
like, it's not
you
just,
you don't see that nowadays, bro.
yeah.
Niggas make everything literally so fucking fast. You cannot see impact anymore. You cannot see contact anymore. It's fucking ridiculous, bro. It's so stupid. Like, what the fuck am I watching? Like, really,
I'm so
honestly, like,
angry.
what's the point? What's the point of why should two niggas go at it if I can't actually see contact? That's so dumb. That's so
Yeah.
stupid. It's like
Yeah.
I can just go watch Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
I can just watch a bunch of fucking lines.
Like
Bunch of
like
niggas
I'm
going
looking
through
at
it.
it, right? The thing I'm looking for is when she's blocking the hits, I'm looking at her face.
Exactly.
And I'm like,
The
that's what I don't see anymore. You
the way
see
her
people make
face
cool
reacts
movements.
to her
Yes,
body,
when
like
their
her
face is
body.
reacting to everything, she's also not just, oh, I'm
It's
blocking.
like
What if it's
it's
painful?
like
What if she's
it's
like,
not
ah,
only
like when she's
it's like
blocking? Like,
it's so much to think about, right? Because it's like not only is it a good choreography, right?
yeah.
Good directed scene, but this guy knows space. He knows his characters in space. He's animating this character like he's animating her full body when it's literally barely even up her upper torso. It's literally just her shoulders, and he's already animated her like you can envision her whole entire body
moving.
Yes.
You can't do that with a lot of these niggas, bro. You cannot envision that kind of shit because these niggas do not understand putting their characters in space at all. Because a lot of these, can I just go off topic real quick?
What's up?
Nah, bro.
These
Don't say
niggas
nothing.
need to stop putting these fight scenes in these fucking goddamn infinite Azura areas all of a sudden.
The board in Tekken.
Every time these niggas can literally fight in a fucking worm the size of a fucking twin size bed, and as soon as they start fighting, all of a sudden they fight in fucking infinite Azura. I hate that
You're a
shit.
hater,
You want to know what's
And
funny?
they only do that shit so they can have a lot. They do that shit so they can have a lot of space for just a bunch of bullshit. Also, they don't have to worry about their surroundings or their environment. Again, worry about their characters in space. They don't have to worry about none of that shit. That's why they have all these people fighting in fields, fighting in these big, huge areas that don't mean shit. Because you don't have to interact with anything. The characters don't have to interact because it actually takes thought. It's like it's
It's
so
funny.
fucking, and I know they can do it.
Yeah,
You
they
know,
can.
like these animes have the skill, but like whoever's directing it, whatever is in the production is like not allowing these niggas, or at least showing these niggas how it should be done. And it's just like, it's like those things are flashy and those things can be cool sometimes, but man, if that's what you have to show me, as in, and that's supposed to be good, it's like I don't. I'm not impressed because they've been doing that shit for like it's been better shit like 20 years ago. Like when I think about impressing actual fucking actual fucking improvements in animation, I think of fucking Spider-Verse. Actual legitimate improvement in 3D animation all
Come on,
across the
bro.
board. I
Come
think of
on.
fucking no, I think of fucking Spider-Verse. I think of fucking Klaus. I think of fucking Klaus in terms of improvements in 2D animation. That's actually fucking impressive because it's never been done before.
So you
Um,
telling me those are what you think of, but you think of UFO table?
Beautiful, unfoldable, bro.
Same thing.
Ufotable.
UFO table. You know, they
UFO
sat
table.
around a round table supposedly when they made the companies UFO table or ufotable, whatever you call it.
My
You
God,
know.
I'm never
I at
trusting
least
you.
think of them because they implemented 3D to the point where as though it's unnoticeable.
Beautiful is cool, and I do like Demon Slayer, and I do like the fight scene in Demon Slayer. I actually, one of the reasons why I did like Demon Slayer is because the fight scenes reminded me of fight scenes back in the day, and
Oh,
not to
because
be a
space
fucking
mattered.
boomer. Yeah, because space actually mattered, and the characters actually utilize their environments the way they're supposed to,
It's
and
fighting
just
that
not
one dude
stupid.
who was switching around the freaking rooms and stuff like that, and they had
Yeah,
to actually navigate
exactly,
that joint. I'm like, yeah, that's actually
exactly.
they see you want to know the cool thing? That's probably very difficult to think about doing in a manga, and I bet you it translated way better in
Because
the anime. I
But the
bet you it
thing
did,
is,
and that's
but
hard
the thing is,
achievement.
the reason why I say that and not mention like companies like that, or like what's another, what's not even really a company but a show that's really good is recent years that has some pretty decent fight scenes.
Oh, you already know which one to
Well,
pick, but if you pick the
just
wrong one, I'm gonna
completely
look at you weird.
not even fight scenes, but just fucking like you have Mob Psycho.
Yes, that was the one I was hoping you'd say.
Just completely just great animation in general,
Yes,
just wholeheartedly. But the reason why I say that is because sadly, you don't really see a lot of that shit when niggas speak of Sakuga. It's always the
really.
same fucking really generic fight scenes. Yeah, it's surprising because Mob Psycho has its ridiculous hyper fights. It has this
Yep.
ridiculous super fights,
Season one
but
and
like,
two is honestly amazing, and it probably is the best thing that Bones
mhm,
has made in recent years, other than obviously Full Metal Alchemist, Brotherhood, like
exactly. So
it's been a while.
it's not even like that we have a discuss, or like that I have a discuss with super fights. It's not that at all.
Nope.
Like again, I like Mob Psycho. I like fucking a lot of scenes from fucking One Punch Man. I think they did great the first season. I think they did wonderful adapting Murata stuff into
Okay, yeah,
animation.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like I think they did wonderful. Um, what I don't like in a lot of super fights or just fights in general is that the the blur between super fights and non-super fights is almost to the point where it's non-existent. You know what I mean?
What do you
You
mean
have
by the
characters
blur? Like
they're
whereas
blurring
though
together.
people.
Like they you can barely tell if a person is fighting that a person that is fighting if they are superhuman or if they actually are just using martial arts. You know what I mean?
Mm,
It's like I can barely tell the difference now. I mean, obviously, if a nigga's flying, they are superhuman. You
in
know what I
some
mean?
way, yeah, yeah,
But it's
yeah.
like, but even then, you have fight scenes. Uh, you have fight scenes from like Ghost in the Shell where they have that impact where you can tell these niggas are not human. You know what I mean? You
Yes.
can tell these niggas are not human. They are something else. They have a strength above humanity, like
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Standalone
So
complex. Standalone complex. The show literally is like a bunch of super people, but they're
mhm,
grounded super people.
Wolf is
exactly.
playing Killick.
What? All right, if y'all didn't know,
Oh,
whoever watched this video, me and Kai, we like Soul Calibur, and we playing it
Yeah.
sometimes. You know, we kind of fans, but
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, throw that up, throw the link up so we can watch that later, just in case. But like, but yeah, like they're grounded. When
Mhm.
the major, right? When the major is fighting people, it feels like a cross between obviously a super cop, you know, like using the gun, you know, understanding tactics and all that type of stuff. You know, she's a detective and all this other stuff, right? She's super intelligent. But then when she gets in a scuffle with someone, she actually has to fight them a certain way, you
Yeah.
know?
what's up?
Not to mention, remember it's all like the when they adapt boxing stuff like Ippo, right? Remember
Mhm.
when Bato, I don't know, Los, did you see the
Bato
episode
fought
where
his
Bato was fighting the boxing
Oh,
dude
yeah, yeah.
and he was talking about the prosthetic blind spot and everything? They
Yeah,
literally brought
exactly.
lore from the Dern universe into boxing because obviously boxing would change as a sport if
Mhm.
prosthetics would be used, and they literally came up with this concept where Bato was like, "Don't worry, I won't use anything crazy. Like I use prosthetics as well, but I'll beat you with boxing." And he's just a fan of this guy. That's such a good episode. But the boxing in that episode was just straight up choreography of a person in a boxing match. And in a boxing match, you have to understand spacing, right? Because there's ropes involved and stuff like that. So you knock someone, you know, into the edge of a square, there's the ropes right there. You have to be able to animate what the ropes are going to be like when that person's body weight hits that particular part of the rope and everything, you know? The floor, all
Mhm.
these little things. But yeah, you're right. When people do these fight scenes nowadays, they don't think a lot about space. I think a lot of the best anime when it comes to fight scenes always thought about space. Like it weren't just flashy. Like the Full Metal Alchemist stuff, they literally interacted with space when they put their hands together and touch stuff. So they always had to think about what's around them. Because if they didn't, how would you know when you're near something you can touch? You know,
Yeah.
Al would touch the metal and turn it into something,
And
or you know, like
yeah, and like to reiterate and pretty much clear what I'm trying to say more clearly is that it's not that I don't like flashiness or don't like exaggeration, right? Because you have scenes or fight scenes from animes that are supposed to be realistic but are exaggerated in a way, like Ippo,
yeah,
like you mentioned, like Ippo, like it's like it's the shit that they do and the way that they move their body isn't necessarily realistic, but it's exaggerated in a way whereas like if like they do it for the feeling.
of course, yeah,
But you know, like even then, even in that case, it's like it's well done because like the opposite end is like niggas don't do it that way. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah,
and it's like it's to the point where it's like a style that people just copy now. Right? It's not like a director, like it's not like a direction or these guys are like have this no one has fucking individuality, bro. It's
hey
like
man,
none
there's
of them
that
have
one
any
dude,
like hold on. No none of them have any kind of fucking specific way on how they want to handle a scene. They
mm,
all handle it exactly how they just feel like they're supposed to handle it. Like these niggas are given the opportunity to key anime and like they just do it exactly like the another nigga that can do it. And it's just like, bro, please put something like a lot of people are like, yo, this is him, like this is that, and like I can slightly see the difference between this guy and that guy, but like honestly, what the fuck? literally the same fucking like direction, like the same directed choreography, the same fucking shit. Like
Mm-hmm.
what's like it's you can totally tell the difference between fucking Yataka Nakamura from fucking Shinyo Hara.
Mm-hmm.
You can completely tell the fucking difference. You can't fucking tell the difference from a lot of these motherfuckers, bro. You can't. And it's like it sucks. You know, and it's another thing, these niggas need to learn anatomy. I'm tired of seeing these niggas look like they are not human when they're moving, bro. I'm so tired of these niggas looking like they have no fucking. They're looking like dolls. Like they literally are moving like dolls. Their bodies are not reacting to what they're doing. And it's like it's really fucking uncomfortable and weird and uncanny. And I don't understand how no one is like seeing this shit. I feel like
Well,
I'm insane. It's
the
all the only nigga that sees this shit,
the
bro.
worst part about what you're saying is there's a feeling of regression, right? Where back in the
Slightly.
day, people were paying attention, but they had probably way less resources than what we have now, right?
Yeah.
We have better footage. Like, I keep thinking back to the old school comic book days where people were trying to, like, find a way to film stuff that was on TV or get newspaper clippings or articles or whatever they could just to be able to get a good reference of someone doing a certain pose.
I
And
feel
now we
like
have literal video footage, GIFs, all types of stuff that you could just download and have in the studio to reference and be like, yo, this emotion, that motion. You can get a live model and, yo, do these
I
motions, like pay them. And you have literally what the body would do in that situation and everything. And everything has gone into, well, we're gonna hire someone to get the work done. It's not gonna be that great because people aren't paying attention to what real life is like. They're not adding that into their work. They're looking at other people's work and they're subtracting from it almost. They're trying to deconstruct it, but they're not putting anything back into it because they're not
yeah,
experiencing observation of life in that way.
exactly. Yeah, that's a real big part of it. That's a very big part. It's regression in in that sense. It's like there's so much improvement in today in terms of animation from just the amount of animators there is and the amount of just the amount of opportunity you have as to become an animator and stuff like that. It's
Mm,
like there's a lot, you know, and it just sucks that with that much improvement and that almost amount of I won't say freedom because I don't really know the animation industry is fucked up and obviously they have fucking they have a specific way on what they want their shit to look like, so that's also why I'm like not also don't want to technically blame like completely blame animes, though animes do have their fair share of wanting to look like other people's work and just pretty much like becoming like very derivative versions of a lot of other people.
sure. Yeah.
There is certain ways, certain things that people want to have their shit look like nowadays, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
they realize that a lot of stuff that looks like fucking Nakamura made it that shit's going to sell. So we want people that do shit that do shit similar to Nakamura. We don't like. I don't remember the last time I've seen the funny. Like I don't remember the last time I've seen someone with the style like O'Hara anime on anything that wasn't like like a indie project.
Mm,
Like I have not seen a style like his on fucking My Hero Academia um or fucking Jujutsu Kaisen or any of those like big name animes. Whereas like back in the day, it's like there was some scenes and some cuts where they was uh very diversive with it. Not to say that animation back in the day was glorious all around. We definitely improved in quality in animation. I'm not going to say we haven't. There definitely is definitely definitely improvements in quality in animation. The thing is that there's no there's no individuality when it comes to certain animation direction. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
It's like it seems like every animator that's in charge of doing key animations for a specific cut is doing it exactly like someone else or a derivative version of someone else, and it's just like the quality is there, and these guys are great animators, but it's like again, they're just kind of like I feel like they're just derivatives of one another, and that's my only issue. You know, it's like I
Okay.
just wish I want to see some kind of individuality
You feel like
with
you can't feel the
these
person
animators.
working on the cut, basically.
Exactly. Yeah, I can't feel them behind it.
See,
It's like,
when you talk about like a really good manga, that's what you feel.
mhm,
Like when you reading a really good manga, you just like, yo, like I can, like yeah, we know, like manga definitely has assistants working on a lot of them, most of them, sure. But there's always this guy or this woman, or this person at the helm of it all, making these decisions, and every mark they make for the characters they draw, all that type of stuff. Every mark they make is a decision that goes with a feeling of how they want this thing to kind of go, how they want this to feel at the end of the day. And like,
mhm.
yeah, you get that. You get that from manga a lot more than you get it from anime, because it feels like the people who work in the anime industry, they try to go to the background essentially. They try to like fade to the background where the scene is important. And that's understandable. I get it, to like make everything cohesive. But definitely in the Sakuga cuts, that should stand out. If someone gives you a cut like, yo, we need you to do this whole little part, and it's gonna be like, I don't know, 45 minutes. I mean 45 seconds to a minute long or something like that. This is just gonna be on screen. That should be some go time motivation. I don't know. I don't know how it's supposed to work in animation. I'm not gonna act like I do, but it's ever so often that I see it where as though it stands out. Bahi JD is one of those for me though, where when he animates something, his
But he,
personality feels like it comes through a bit.
but
Got some
he
flair.
JD was like one of those original webgen animators to make it, and I feel like he is part of the inspiration of what niggas want to be. Like a lot of his style influenced a lot of people, and you can really see it if you look at his style. His style was inspired by an animator. I forget the name. So that's what I am. But his
Ma-
style is inspired
Masahiro
by
Ando or something.
not Masahiro Ando, not him. It's another guy that starts with an M. He has a very bubbly, wobbly kind of movement with his character acting. It's kind of similar to JD.
Okay.
Uh, and a lot of people animate. A lot of new animators definitely take inspiration from him.
Mm-hmm.
JD, uh, which I could definitely understand. Uh, yeah. It's like it's like the same thing of just like you said, with mangas or comics. It's like yeah, I don't know. It's like it's definitely just no difference than just the same derivative, just overall IPs that always come out. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like the same derivative like art styles that exist. It's like you can't really tell what's real and what's not anymore. You know,
Mm.
it's like you can and like you can say like how how do you know and all that stuff, but you can really just tell by just someone's art alone. You know, you
Yeah.
can just kind of feel it, like if what they're making is truly them. You know, it's just like, jeez, I don't know. I don't know, man. As like one of those, that's one of the reasons why I kind of like I wanted to be an animator when I was younger. I think I mentioned that before, but I wanted to be an animator like heavy. I did not want to draw. I did not want to do none of that shit. I wanted to animate specifically.
Mm.
And that used to be a big part. Like I wanted to go to uh uh
Color
Kyoani.
arts. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wanted to go there. I was on my weave shit. But
Honestly, it took me a while to become a fan of them, not because of anything other than I didn't know about them.
mhm,
And if, obviously, it's really unfortunate, man. By the time I learned about them, a year or two
yeah,
later, they had been attacked as a studio, and a lot of people were hurt there, and it freaking sucks.
it really does suck. They was so good. Like a lot of the things they made probably won't is probably not a lot of people's like favorite stuff, but like they were so fucking talented. They were like really ahead of the curve. Like, but a lot of people like the style that you
Sound
see in a lot of
Euphonium was so
huh?
nice to look at. Sound Euphonium, season
Oh
1. I
yeah.
checked that out.
Mm-hmm.
I was just, it was weird. It was funny. I didn't say like free and all that good stuff, but like I would see like these every now and then these little shows that they had worked on, and I was like, yo, something about this feels like they care. Like
They
like the character acting, the amount of attention, the
yeah.
understanding that was going on, just not just, oh, look how good we are at animating. It was like, no, we are telling a story. We're trying to
Mm-hmm.
depict these characters, how they're feeling right now in this moment in their life. And in this
I feel
moment,
like that's the biggest improvement nowadays is character acting in slight ways. I
on a
feel like a lot of
consistency
people
level.
yeah, on a consistency level in terms of quality, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of people have made it's to the point where we are able to make a series that has a billion gazillion episodes even
Right.
of good quality. And obviously you have to speak there's obviously specific studios that are able to do that. But Kill was definitely one of the first. Like they was putting out and like shows that were animated so fucking well. Like slice of life shows, whatever, but it was still so animated. It was animated so well, consistently. It was just like wow. It was just like wow, bro.
I
It was
couldn't
like
believe
wow.
it when I
And
saw
like
it. I was like, yo, what? Like, and then I found
yeah,
out about their track record as far as like them being financially stable, not needing to necessarily hire people outside of their studio, which means they keep
hmm
people who are in the studio with work and making money, and the studio makes a lot of their money off of the Blu-ray sales, and since a lot of people love these characters, they buy the Blu-rays. I'm like, yo, like K-On! And whatever else they were working on,
yeah,
Lucky Star or something, I
K-On,
forget what it's called, but whatever it
Lucky
was,
Star,
those joints sold a lot. They were
Beyond the
leading the sales
Boundary.
when it comes to like Blu-ray sales at some point because again, people love those series. They bought a lot of that stuff. They made a lot of money. And I was just like, yo, I love that. I love that they don't necessarily need to outsource their work to a bunch of different people, freelance wise. They can keep people in
hmm
house. If you work in house and you're not losing jobs or like needing to always get new people in, oh, and they were producing shows on their own. They weren't necessarily always they would do like one show a season or something like that. Or, like they weren't like trying to do 3 and 4. And what I'm saying is they
Five
were
at a
able to
time and shit.
grow. They were able to grow as a
Yeah.
unit, and that means that the skill set that those people had working together in a team was higher than a lot of those other teams because all they did was grow. And they knew what it was to thrive, so they was eating good. Like I was just like, yo, I'm inspired. I wish more studios was able to take that direction. And then the attack happened, man, while they were working on Violet Evergarden, right, Los? That was what it was called, right? Violet Evergarden?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That
was working
show was
on it.
amazing as I don't know what. I started watching that. I started tearing up a little bit how good it was animated, man. I was like, wow. Uh,
So it's just like, man. So I had plans to go to the university. At
mm-hmm.
least I wanted to. Obviously, plans is I was like fucking 9 or some shit at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I had that vision for like a long time, all the way up to like middle school. I was animating like constantly throughout the time,
Mm-hmm.
and after a while, after a while, I wanted to get an illustration because I wanted to improve my anatomy because I realized, okay, my anatomy is shit, and my shit is not looking as good as the animation that I'm seeing that is inspiring me. Um, I need to improve my anatomy, something a lot of niggas don't do. But but like I try to improve my anatomy. Now I started just getting more into illustration and all that type of stuff. And I just wanted to get back in animation here and there, but then just from what I've seen, obviously what I've seen from how the animation studio is terrible, kind of just like I don't want to do this shit no more. But also just seeing how animation like is going in terms of what's sought out
Yes.
after compared to it's just like um,
Yeah.
kind of like steer me away. Obviously, that should never be enough to stop you from doing what you want to do. Obviously, I have other reasons on why I stopped animating. Like
Yeah.
yeah. But like, definitely, it was just like, man, like this is what's hopping. Like, I still wish that. I just feel like a lot of things has become just became the equivalent of like a buzzword now. Like a lot of people mention it or say it with no meaning behind it or no like authentic feelings behind it or genuine emotions behind it. I feel like everything is just there to be consumed without actually digest it, or like just really thought about. Because it's like it's I don't know, it's so I don't know, it's just so much that I think about a lot. It's just like every day I have to see the same goddamn cuts spread around over and over again. Fucking Naruto and Sasuke
Oh my
fighting that
god.
goddamn nigga, bro. And I'm just
My
like,
god. Look,
the
I get it.
animator is
Like,
great. The animator is great, bro. Like he's so fucking good.
bruh, all
But
the
that
animators who
specific
worked on
fight,
the Naruto fight scenes that
but
went on
that
every Sakuga
specific
board is nice and all, but
But
man,
that specific fight is just not good. I'm sorry,
which
it's just
one?
not animated.
The what's his name?
The one that we were talking
Momoshiki.
about specifically, was it me and you or was it me and Kai? I think it was me and Kai.
All right,
But
where's Kai? Oh, is he gone? Oh no, he's right
he's
there,
there. He's talking to
absorbing this
Hope.
video. I don't know if it was you and Kai, but if it was Sasuke Naruto against some dude in white, and he was like giving
It
him the
was
hands,
yeah, yeah.
and
And
they reanimated it for the for the anime or something, or the
they
movie or something
started
like that.
fucking growing trees and the Naruto fucking it was a lot. It was a lot of dumb shit. I don't know. Like if we talking about the specific thing, it was the one that was just talked about so much, as far as I know. And
It would
I
have
was
to be
just
that one. I think
and
the
I was
last
just
fight scene between Naruto and Sasuke was better. Well, it was better in a way because it was more ground heavy over time. Finally, like at second half of that fight, it was more ground heavy, and I love the fact that Sasuke was like blocking this man's hand symbol so he couldn't make shadow clones anymore, and then he
mhm.
used the hand symbol against him and was able to use like a flame jutsu or something by using his
Yeah.
hand. I was just like, yo, this is cool. Like, okay, he been thinking about this fight. He been premeditating this one.
Like man, that fight was just so it was just a bunch of fucking Wing Chun shit that was unreadable. Like so fast. It's like I
Mm.
can't see the context and it doesn't seem impactful at all. Like it doesn't seem like they're actually hitting this nigga. It doesn't seem like they're actually blocking this nigga's hits. And some of the movements was just so unnecessary. Sasuke's over here doing flips. He kicked a knife. He kicked his sword that was literally like 2 frames. So it could have been production issues that made it the quality that it is. But it's one of those things where it's like, why am I seeing this get spread so much?
Cause
Obviously, the animes did not get the amount of time or you know to really shine. And it's like there's not that good of a fight scene, bro. I'm sorry, there's not that. I'm not like that's. It's like that becomes when you spread things of those qualities or just something that's low quality in general. You spread it around, it becomes the norm. It becomes the standard, and it's like nah, we could do better than this. Like we can
man,
do better than this. The animators that animated it can do better. They've done better than this. It's like,
mm-hmm.
but
But
it's like,
see, the thing is, Pushy, nobody really average people. Average people don't really like they have their own opinion of what's good, right? But since they're
yeah,
not
that's
like
true.
looking for it, like imagine you go right and you've tasted ice cream before, right? But you
Hmm.
only really dabble in like 5 flavors. I
Like,
feel like I'm talking
yeah,
about myself right now, cause I've,
no, yeah,
but
yeah.
like
You dabbed in
right, but
my
I've only
specific
dabbled in
palette.
5 flavors. But if you go to Baskin Robbins, how many flavors they say they got? like 32 or something like that, right? Like,
Yeah, I never been to Baskin
oh,
Robbins.
my bad, my bad. But look, they got like 30 something flavors, right? How can I, if I've only eaten one brand, also one brand of this ice cream that I've only tasted 6 of, Baskin and Robbins brand has 36 flavors or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I cannot go around trying to teach people and tell people that this thing is good because I've only tasted 6 out of those things, and they might be mid as hell. They might be honestly bottom of the barrel, you know? What if I'm eating them joints straight out of straight from the brand that you find in the market that literally is the market's brand? Like,
Yeah.
that's another thing. It's like, yo, that's not even competition. That's just competition when it's in this market because everybody goes to this market. So if you can't afford the good stuff, you can at least still get you some type of ice cream. It's just whatever ice cream because that company doesn't specialize in making ice cream, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like when you're talking about something that's consumed on a massive scale like anime is these days, right? It's a clip goes up online, people can watch it for free somewhere online, everybody can see it, and it's being talked about. So if you want to get in on it, everybody's got to watch it. It eventually reaches a certain level of mass appeal. When it comes to being consumed on such a massive level. And if you haven't seen enough stuff like this, if you haven't consumed enough anime, if you haven't seen enough fighting like action movies and stuff like that, you don't have a criteria of what you want out of a movie. You just see movement, you see colors, you see impact frames, and you go, "Whoa, this is good." And it's like
Don't get me started on Impact Frame.
it's not necessarily good. It's just that you think it's good because you haven't experienced enough yet. Which is
And
why I
that's
always
cool.
say
Yeah.
the real stuff lasts the test of time. Because by the time you
Yeah.
come back around to that stuff, if you still think it's good, that's when you're like, oh, it was good. But when you got other stuff to compare it to, that's better. You're like, wait, this is crazier than that scene.
It's definitely okay to enjoy that Naruto fight scene.
Yeah,
You don't have to feel like you are lesser intelligent or what the fuck kind of fucking insecurities niggas feel like when you criticize shit. You ain't gotta feel like any type of way if you like a certain thing. But it's one of those things where it's just like when you talk when you're a person of a craft or a specific thing that you do that you love and you see something that is praised on being the greatest thing ever or something that you just know from your knowledge or from your experience that is not as good as the people are claiming or people that don't know better is claiming it is like it sets a bad precedence within your community or within your craft. You know what I mean?
yeah, of course.
Because
Yeah,
that sets the standard.
yep. Without even
It
trying.
sets the standard. So it's like it's not it's okay. Like it's cool fight scene. It's cool. Like I'm pretty sure everything is cool if I gave a shit about Naruto. Luckily, I don't. So I guess that also gave me a little bit of leeway to not be like to have such a like critical response to it. Um, but I can admit when certain other things are pretty cool, but not like really well animated. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah,
so many, so many old fight scenes that are so fucking badly animated due to budget and just how bad anime was doing, like money wise. It's like so many of that shit back in the day that just exists. It is just, I feel like, so it's not really a comparison on like, oh, back in the day was so much better than nowadays. It definitely was not.
definitely
In terms
not.
of just, yeah, it definitely was not in terms of like financial, like animation quality. It's just like in specifically speaking on animation style. I feel like there was a more broader rising in animation style back in the day than it is nowadays. I feel like, at least in anime, they could even more be more specific in anime. You know what I mean?
I feel like the
Um,
people back in the day had they were consuming some different stuff, right? They were more into
Yeah,
movies
it's definitely a
and
product of its time.
I feel like the people back in the day were better at decision making when it comes to a specific look or a specific feel because they were
Yeah.
consuming some really good directors from a lot of dope movies and stuff. So if they like for example, if you threw one of them into the driver's seat and said you're the director of this, it'd probably still work. I feel like if you threw some of these guys into the director's seat now, they're more like what are they called? Specialists. They specialize
Mm,
in a certain thing and their fundamentals may not always like already be there for essentially a broader scope of directing different types of things. You know what I'm
mhm,
saying? Like for example sake, I know good and well that Hideki Anno does stuff dealing with the military well. He does like explosions and what is it called
yeah.
deconstruction, something falling apart slowly. He does all those
Mhm,
types of things really well. So military stuff, explosions, destruction, those types of things he does really well. But that doesn't mean he couldn't direct something else like like in a similar vein to that, but not exactly that. You know what I mean?
yeah.
He doesn't that's why he can do the Godzilla films. It's still
Yeah.
it's just not a mech. It's not it has government stuff, but now it has a giant monster. But that incorporates the destruction stuff. So it doesn't always have to just be the stuff we know him for. It can be something in the same vein of that thing, but different. But I feel like a lot of these other people, let's say they're specialists at car chase scenes. That's just what they do. But if you take something similar like planes, that'd be like, whoa, like I haven't studied enough plane scenes to be confident enough in directing this. And it's like, but it's technically up your alley in a way. Like, you don't even got to do a road, but now you got to describe the spatial
Yeah.
awareness of being in the sky. Like,
I feel
like
like yeah, I feel like the '90s specifically, like the late '90s, early '90s era, or like even to the early 2000s was an era of like renaissance in media, where
mm,
even film in Europe were um going through kind of film protests, in different ways on how they want to film things and stuff like that, and how they
yeah,
want to create media. And just all around, the '90s created just a renaissance of just expressive, interesting ways on how to capture specific things. I'm not saying that all of it was good,
right,
but there was a renaissance of people just exploring things,
yeah,
like people were literally, it was the punk rock era of media.
mm-hmm,
Without a doubt. I still wholeheartedly believe that that was the punk rock era of media where people were just having fun and just doing things. And I feel like with that, it kind of everything that was created around that was a product of their environment. There was a product of seeing all these interesting and new and fresh ideas that were just completely authentic and just different from one another. Whereas nowadays, you don't really have that much. The most you can see and stuff like that is through looking at past media from the from back in the day. Like literally everyone who is inspired by something will say it's from something back in the day.
mm-hmm,
It's from something way back in the day. I mean, obviously people did that back in the '90s and all that stuff too, but back in the '90s, you could be like, "Yeah, I saw this fucking movie like last week that was crazy," and they have said that. A lot of people have said that. Like, I
mm-hmm,
saw this something that happened last week that inspired me. Yeah, so much crazy shit, like so much crazy iconic shit come out in the '90s that just reshaped and reset uh creativity in just art forms and art genres and shit like that. And nowadays, I feel like we are in that we are in that corporate era. You
yeah. Where
know, we
everything
are
needs to
in
sell. Everything's made to
yeah,
sell, right?
we
Like,
from like just exactly how it happened in the '70s, where there was a slight renaissance with film, exploitation films, all that stuff. You have the '90s that became the corporate era with those films. Not the '90s, the '80s, and you have the '90s had the punk rock era. They said fuck all that shit. We doing our shit the way we want to do it. We doing art the way we want to fucking do it. We fucking expressionist painting. We fucking all this type of shit.
mm-hmm,
We know more about that corporate shit. You know what I mean? And then we have the early 2000s, slightly starting to become corporate. They starting to corporations starting to realize like, okay, people really like this kind of aesthetic or this kind of way of doing things. Let's market this. And
Mm.
then, it's like we're still going through that corporate era where it's like corporations are starting to see what's selling and they
Yeah.
just constantly are starting to piggyback. And it's like no one can deny that. No one can deny that there is a pattern happening where AAA title games, movies, anime,
Mm.
all types of media across the board are just following a certain pattern or criteria that most likely will sell.
Yeah.
It will most likely sell. You have a bunch of games now that are not saying that they're bad, but they're practically like fucking movie experiences.
Yeah.
You're
Most
there
of the
for
Sony
the
stuff.
theatrical experience. You're not there for the actual gameplay anymore. You're
Yep.
not there for the
That's not
actual
what
gameplay
sells then.
anymore. It's like you're there for the theatrical experience, which is fine. Some games have great. It's all about the experience, and at the end of the day, with the game, right? You
Yeah.
have fun with the game. That's all that matters. But it's all still a derivative version of another because it's literally just doing exactly what the other person did because it's sold. It's sold like that. Like it's and it's to the point where it's like it's continuing to keep doing this until someone breaks the mold. You know what I mean? Until
Yeah.
some like if we didn't have Spider Verse, we'd keep getting shit like Buzz Lightyear. We keep getting shit like fucking like Boss Baby and shit like that if we did not or fucking Frozen. We keep getting animated 3D animation like that if we didn't have something like fucking shit, something like Spider Verse or the fucking goddamn Captain Underpants or the fucking Peanuts. But Peanuts didn't do well. Captain Underpants didn't do well. So they didn't see those animations. People don't even talk about those movies.
Mm-hmm.
Those movies was well animated 3D animated films, but nobody talks about it because it didn't sell well.
Of course. Yep.
But then
Because
we
everybody
have Spider
focuses
Verse.
on the budget stuff now. Everybody
Exactly.
focuses on how much money something makes now.
And now we have Spider Verse. Fucking kills it in the box office. Obviously, it's Spider Man, so people are going to talk about it regardless. People is killing it. It even pushed the boundaries that Captain Underpants and Peanuts did with their animation style and just pushed it beyond. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And people are just talking about that shit constantly, and it's just we need shit like that. We need shit that just pushes things. You know what I mean? And it's okay to be inspired by things, but it's difference between being inspired and being a derivative.
Well,
It's
a
like
lot of people like to be safe, Bucci.
that's very true, and that's exactly what I'm
And
talking about.
that's the
That's
funny part. The era of a lot of the stuff that not the era, but a lot of the stuff that I seem to like, I know it was some sort of like there's a derivative aspect of it, right? Like it's there, but there's a part of it that's like I'm not doing this like everybody else,
yeah.
and that stuff stood out.
See,
Even if it
that's the
wasn't marketed like to the point where it was successful, I think about the parts of that thing that really stood out to me, and I'm like, yo, like people,
that's the
yeah, like people these days
that's
would
the
not
thing.
think too much about that, but back then, that actually was different.
That's the thing, man. It's like, see, that's the thing. Like, it's one thing to be inspired and to see and inspire a work that it is inspired, but it's another thing to see a work that's just a derivative. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you can see something like I know this is gonna probably piss people off or just confuse people because I like this game. Don't get me wrong, I like this game, but you can see something that's a derivative like um a derivative that's like fucking goddamn what was I about to say?
Dark Souls.
Dark Souls, nah. Well, honestly, to this point, you could say most no new Dark Souls games are derivatives of themselves.
Yep.
You could say like this, like without a doubt, they are literally just formulaic copies of one another just to fucking make some shit.
Look,
Like,
RPGs are video game RPGs are
oh my
derivatives
god,
of actual RPGs where you roll a dice. And that's all a derivative of people who wanted to
fucking,
make something off of reading
fucking.
uh what is it called?
See, I would call that inspired though, because you have certain things that like like when I think of
Oh yeah,
derivatives, I think of
right,
something
right.
that's like is less inspired or less of a homage, and more of just a cash grab, right?
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's like that's what I think of a derivative. Where it's like, it's not that's not even to say that it's unfun or bad, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean, or like unenjoyable. Um,
Yeah,
because
but
like we can still.
nothing can come from a clone. Well, that's not true, right? But basically what
Mhm,
you're saying is the energy that goes into something that's become just made to be a clone of something. If
mhm,
someone gets inspired by that, they can only they usually what they end up creating is another version of that clone.
yeah,
But when something's inspired, they might not even notice that that thing was inspired by something else because
mhm,
it went in a different direction from that thing enough to where as though it's standing on its own. And if someone was inspired by that,
exactly.
they wouldn't end up anywhere near the thing that originally inspired that. Like for example, how the original JoJo's Bizarre Adventure was inspired by Fist of the North Star, if I'm correct.
Mhm,
And then over
yep,
time, Araki was like, you know what? I'm kind of just gonna do my own thing even more and dive harder into stuff I really want to do other than just piggybacking off of the success of some of the things that were done in Fist of the North Star. And then he just
yeah.
started going. And it was like, hold on, I can really
Once
go. And yeah, you're not
once
going to end
you
up near Fist of the North Star if you were inspired by Araki's work. No, like you
And that's such
nowhere
a
near
good
it.
thing that you mentioned that too, because a lot of people say that, this is just talking out your ass, but as artists, we know how it feels to want to make work that is completely the same as somebody else's work.
Sure.
So many
Yeah.
manga artists back in the day did things similar to Voice of the North Star and this, that, and the third, like the creator of Innocent. He did shit almost exactly like that back in the day because that's what he thought he wanted to do. And then
Mm.
he said, I don't want to do that shit. And then he made Climber. Then he made The Climb or whatever the fuck that shit's called. And then he made Innocent. That's when he started
Oh.
yeah. Like
He is old, huh? He's an older
he's
guy.
very fucking old. I was kind
He'd
of
be working
surprised to
out.
see that too. I was like, damn nigga, you have a lot of fucking manga out.
Yeah, I'm like,
Never
geez,
heard
all
of it.
right, all right.
But
He
like
changed up his whole
but yeah,
whole thing. You wouldn't even
it's like
notice it was him.
it's so many artists. It's so many artists out there with that kind of mentality. And it's like so like I know how this type of shit like like we know as creators how this type of shit like flies, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like it's just I don't know. It's okay to be inspired by something, but you have to push it. You know what I mean? You have to push it. Like if it to the to simplicity, like to the simplest like part. If you just want to create something that is popular, don't just create a derivative version of it. If you want to create something that's popular for the sole purpose that it is popular, like if you say it's shit, I don't give a fuck if you saw how popular fucking I don't care how what is it? I don't care how you see how popular fucking Among Us is, and you want to make something similar to that or something like that. Then like okay, you see how popular it is. That's fine. You want to make something like that, but you have to push it even further though, because like it's like
The
on
people you're trying to get to enjoy your thing have already experienced the thing that inspired you to make
exactly
that. So you
exactly
can't
like
assume that that's going to be good enough. Like if you wanted to make
yeah
the next battle shonen, get ready to think beyond you're right. The whole term we stand on the shoulders of giants, right? Like that, right? Like
mhm,
okay, now you have to take the best stuff in the medium that's similar in direction enough to what you're trying to do, and you have to kind of start going in a direction that they didn't go in a way, and answer questions in a way that they wouldn't answer questions, storytelling wise. You know, you can go with many different directions of that. You can make something comedic, you can make something serious, you can bring something like what, like the whole like yo like for example's sake, right? In shonen or in a lot of Japanese media, right? They say that essentially it follows this direction, whereas though the main character, for the most part, they're going to be something special as long as their parents were something special, right?
mhm.
Which means for the most part, uh, if your parents were not exceptional people, you can't be an exceptional person, you know? Like that seems to be a consistent thing for main characters from like the Japanese sphere of storytelling, which I find a little bit sad because I'm like, yeah, what if I'm a creator and like I feel like my parents weren't anything that I want to associate with? Well, if I try to make a character, like it would be more true to me to essentially make my character like I want to get away from my family and I don't want to be a part of whatever they're a part of, lineage wise. I don't want that to fall back on me, uh and that would, I feel like that would be a really interesting story for that to be the starting point, because you're essentially trying to build something that your parents never had, in a way. Like that you're not even going to use their legacy necessarily. It means you found a way to become something when they didn't, quote unquote, And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like they don't do that type of thing that I consistently see, right? Everything probably
Yeah.
exists. There's a bunch of stuff that doesn't get translated. I can't say whether or not, type thing, but from what we've been given from Japan, what's been exported over here to America, the types of stories
Mm-hmm.
we've been able to consume from Japan, that's what I usually get. And that's another thing. You can't just see someone's thing from somewhere else and go, I'm gonna make the same thing. You have to take what's true to you and
Mm-hmm.
what's important to you, also like where you live, and put some of that in
That's
there. Even
why.
if you're making it an adventure fantasy story, there's got to be something like true to you in there.
Man, we was talking about that the other day. It's like just people. A lot of these, specifically like we was talking about webcomic artists. A lot of these
Mm,
webcomic artists, they try to write things, and they seem so one-dimensional or childish because a child doesn't have the experience. They don't have the experience to write something uh compelling or something, uh something like on the level of even I don't know, on the level of something like Berserk and stuff like that.
mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's like you have to get that experience. You have to experience life or experience failure. You have to experience all these other things before you can reach that point. And there's like two sides of that. It's like that shouldn't discourage you from creating because you're like, okay, then whatever I create will never be good enough. It's like, no, you have to create because you need that experience. You have to live your life and you have to do all that stuff. But the thing is like um a lot of these webtoons lack that kind of stuff because and it's like they lack that kind of writing because they don't have the experience, nor do they know how to put that experience through that writing. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like so it's um it's a lot in play when it comes to being a creator and just being a creator uh that is your own, you know what I mean? It's like if I think the best way that I like to think about things or when I'm doing something is if I ever see something that is inspired that is inspiring me, and I always do. And I guess to the point where I don't care if it's off brand for me or something that's seems weird or something like that's like, oh,
Talking
this
about
is
when you
gonna
share things.
not when I share things, but or when I see something that I'm inspired by and I want to implement in my work somehow.
Mm,
And I don't and I think to and I have those moments where I think to myself like, okay, this is very off brand. Like if I do something like this, people would think that this looks weird. But I never think that. I try not to think that at least because I know how to take inspiration or I try to take inspiration and push it. You know what I mean? I push it
yes.
more and more and to the point where it is just mine. I'm not just copying something. I'm learning from that person and implementing things that they did into my work in my own way. And that's how, at least that's how I hope that my style, despite my style being to my eyes very different from time to time, still sharing this whole kind of feeling where you can see it and be like, oh yeah, that's made by that nigga, even though it's like always so different from time to
Mm-hmm.
time. Because I always have my own little quips and own little like own little things that I like to have my stuff resemble or feel like, and it's just I feel like that should be uh, in people's work that are inspired by a specific piece of media or things in general. I think that you should never take your inspirations and do them the dishonest, the injustice by just copying them or just believing that you can just copy them and do something like it because you can never copy someone else's work. You're not that person.
The
You
other
know,
thing is
you
just
can't.
be true to yourself. That's
Yeah,
a
you you
it's
you you just gotta be honest to yourself, man. It's like it's definitely a lot of um it's a lot of reflection, self uh
evaluation. No,
evaluation that you have
figure
to
out why
do.
that thing inspires you. That's another thing.
Exactly.
Like, don't just go, man, this looks cool. Or
Yeah,
sometimes it's
like
not even something looking cool. It could be just a thing that you see and you
yeah,
go, what is that? Like,
could be.
why? Yeah, like, why does that thing stick out to me? And you just gotta dig deeper a little bit and be like, the other thing
Like
is
I
like,
like this, but do I really want to implement this into my work, or do
right?
I just like it,
Yeah,
or is it just popular, or do I just
yeah,
see the
yeah,
traction that it's getting?
yeah.
And it's like you gotta really gotta understand that type of stuff,
You know what's
you know.
funny? If you thought about my style right now, Poochie,
Hmm.
if you just think about this type of stuff that I like in general, you know what the number one thing that you'd be surprised that I haven't drawn yet?
What?
Demon Slayer art.
Hmm.
I like bold lines. I like line weights, right? I like saturated colors. I like patterns. Like,
That is true. Now
yeah,
that you mention it, yeah.
like the only thing Demon Slayer might be missing is like animals or something like that, you
Black
know.
people, yeah.
Well, yeah, yeah, definitely black people because man, if it man, but black people put themselves in anything and everything at this point, and that's great because they want to see themselves everywhere, and they should because I understand, like it, I get it.
Mm,
We should be in much more things. We're pretty cool, and we just looking for the right people who are already creating it. But I think you know more stuff should exist. But yeah,
mm-hmm.
it's just like I think about all the different things that inspired me, and I think it's funny how I take inspiration and use it. And I also think that like I love that I found a way to be vulnerable in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think a lot of people when they create a story, they try to make this very simple story that everyone can understand. And they don't try to put a lot of themselves into it because they don't want to feel preachy. They don't want
Yeah.
to tell someone something necessarily. And I'm just like,
I'm telling you, like
you
the
you
people looking at it strange, please do not fall in that trap and believing that no one wants to hear your story, bro.
like
It's like
even
it
if you
is,
telling a fantasy story, there's
yeah,
stuff
even if you
inside of
tell them
you
fans.
that you've gone through. Like
Mm-hmm.
like
Like
like the stuff that
even
you can find a way to share even if it's not a direct thing to just tell people, like a feeling of loss, a feeling of sadness, a day where it started off great and then the next part of your day was horrible. I've had days like that, and I think it will be true to give my character days like that for the type of story that I want to tell.
there's like nothing more interesting and nothing more like just stand outish than you just telling a story the way you want to tell it. You know what I mean? Like it could be a very it's the thing, it could be such a simple story at the start. But it's how you tell that story that makes it your story. And that's what we need
Honestly,
as a
how you
genre.
tell a story is the most important part of the
It's
story.
like that's what we need, man. That's what we need. We need like your individual self in your work. You know what I mean? Like in your stories or in your your drawings, like how you draw a character, that character's personality, that character's um um anything, how that character exerts emotions or that scene, how that scene is portrayed, what's happening in that scene, how you how do you want to portray all those things is really up to you, you know? There's tools on how you can best do that or best get that betrayal that you want to get at. But at the end of the day, it's how you want to betray it. You know what I mean? And so it's like
Yeah.
always always say fuck it and choose what you want to do first when it comes to your personal work. You know, it's like always, 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 man. It's like there was one thing that I've realized that made drawing just all around just way more fun
Mm-hmm.
and just feel more rewarding.
And
It's
what's
just
that?
doing it for myself.
Yep.
Even when I'm doing commissions, it's like I just do it for myself. I draw it. I like obviously, I'm lucky enough to have commissions where people give me that liberty.
Yes.
I don't really accept commissions if they want me to draw in a specific style, anyways, because I don't think you should. You never accept commissions if they want to change your style. Tell them niggas that you saw me, you saw my work, you hit me up, you know how I draw. Do not ask me to draw a different style, and if they ask you again, smack them in the mouth. But anyways, if it's like, but even then, it's like I have a luxury of just having creative freedom to do my commissions however I want. So even when doing I guess client work, I guess you could say, is that I still kind of do it in my own way. I draw, even drawing people's OCs, how I feel their OCs make me feel, or how their OCs, what kind of personality or feeling that their OCs put off for me. Because a lot of people OCs aren't really, finalized, or unless they tell me who exactly the type of person they are and stuff like that. Then even then, I still be like, okay, that's the type of person he is. I think of a scene, or I think of a pose. I think of how that person will, act and stuff like that, and I implement that into the commission in any kind of way to make it feel like just fun,
Yeah.
creating a scene, creating a world, and creating these people, it's like it's nothing more fun than that. And I used to look at well, I like to look at Ian McCaig draw a lot. Like that
Mm.
one, this is a video of him just drawing. He's just having fun out the fucking union, bro. He's just drawing, bro, and it just makes me think like that's how it is. That's how it should be, at least.
Yeah.
That's like it was at a point in my life where I did not enjoy drawing. I did not care for it at all, and it was just like, man. And it wasn't his skill that made him have fun, right? It's
Right.
never your skill. Never feel like if you will be better, you will enjoy drawing more. Because even people who are really good struggle with picking up a fucking pencil every day,
Yep.
and or even to the point where it's like, even like, you know what I mean? So it's like it doesn't matter how good you are, because at the end of the day, you will never feel like you're good. You will never
Yep.
feel like you're good. You will never ever feel like you at that point where you are like, "Yep, this is yep, I reached my peak." It's like you're never
You
gonna do
you
that
honestly have to
because
change what being good even means in order to move forward. Cause like if you just say like, yo, I gotta be as good as like this person or that person, yo, that person's
yep,
lived a whole different life. They've done a whole different level of
exactly.
training, and they've been able to. You're talking about them because they've kind of put their whole life into it already, and you have
Mhm.
only kind of like you've been at it for a while, but you're not like 40. You're not like 50, 60, 70 years old having put like everything into this yet. So you can't even imagine putting another 20 years into this with the level of focus you already have and the fact that you're trying to get more focus on it. They've already done
Mhm.
that. Like you know what I mean? Like think about your level of focus now and think about how if they were as focused as you, they doubled their focus every 10, 20 years, like every time. And you're talking about what they did, after putting in 50 years of work. Like you
Like
can't compare yourself to that.
that's a whole different, like, think about it like this, like that is a whole different human being. That is a whole different human being that thinks differently, that has a different life. Half of the time, most of the niggas that y'all like are from a different fucking country, different culture. So it's like even things like that that could come into play on how what makes that person's art the way that it is. Not even gonna say good. I'm not even
Mhm.
gonna use the term good anymore. It's like the way that their art is at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because good, obviously, there's good art, there's bad art. What I consider good art is fundamentally wise. You know what I mean? It's always just fundamental. So if you have the fundamentals down, you have good art. I don't really give a shit what style or what genre or what kind of approach you're going for, as long as the
Mhm.
fundamentals down and it reads well and it looks cool. That's all I care about. If your shit looks cool, that's all you should care about. If your shit looks cool, that's all you should care about, bro. Like I don't, especially if it looks cool to you. Like always draw to make your shit look cool to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Always draw to have fun. Like always, like really, really like reach in for that childlike wonder again. I always these past few years, man, I was really thinking like, have I lost it? Have I lost my fucking like child my childishness, you know what I mean? My
Yeah.
imagination, my feelings, like all that type of shit. I used to think that I really lost that shit. I used to think that I became too fucking analytical. I became too fucking serious or too critical in my work. That it
Uh-huh.
was to the point where I was like, man, I can't do this shit no more. I'm gonna just fucking give this shit up forever, for real. But then I was just like, no, that's fucking stupid.
Mm.
And and I didn't lose it. Is the fact that I'm thinking too hard. You know what I mean? I'm thinking too hard, and I'm comparing myself to other people that aren't me. It's like you can love other people's work. Other people's work can inspire you, but at the end of the day, you are you. You know what I mean? Draw how you feel you want to draw. If you want to, if you want to fucking draw a way that is different than a popular style that's popular at the time, and fucking draw that way, because that's what's gonna make you happy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And you have to, again, like we said before, you have to really. It's really a mental game. Drawing and being good at art is so much more of a mental game than actual fucking like physical skill. It's
Yeah.
so much of a mental game, man. It's like that's what makes that's like 90% of it, man. That's like at least 80 to 90% of it. It's just such a mental fight against yourself. You're your worst critic. You're your worst fucking critic, and you have to be a critic. You can't be you can't be too hard on yourself, yet you can't be too soft on yourself. You have to really figure out that balance act. You know,
Yeah.
to improve, but also just have fun with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just recommend just really treating art, even studies, all this kind of stuff, just like as a as just a fun hobby. Just like really is just something that you really like to do. You're creating characters. You're creating life. You know, it's like, and do that however you feel you see fit. You know,
Yeah.
and then you'll be able to create things. You'll create wonderful things, and you'll be able to tell wonderful stories. Through, even if you don't have to be a comic writer, you don't have to be an animator, you don't have to be anything to create wonderful stories through your work. You can create a single image, and it will tell more than you would think. So, you
Yep.
know, that's all that matters, man. So, yeah, man, just keep at it and just keep that individuality, man, because that's what we need. We need that. We don't need copies of a bunch of niggas, bro. We don't need a bunch of drones, bro. We need a bunch of individual niggas. I'm tired of seeing niggas being other niggas, bro. That shit is boring to me.
You
If
sure,
you're not
bro?
gonna do it to yourself, do it for me. Don't be like other niggas. Entertain me, bro, because I love seeing people's just personal selves put through work. And yeah, if you have a similar style to other people, that's completely fine. But as long as it's coming from you, because it is like you can tell the difference. Like you can
Mm.
definitely tell. Like you can definitely tell as a viewer, as a person that is an artist, a person of the same craft. I can definitely tell, and a lot of people can tell.
Mm.
It's like, and it's just like, if not even just for anyone else, like obviously first and foremost, do it to yourself. Do it for yourself, man.
Look,
You
it's
know what I
one
mean?
thing to look up a genre that you're interested in and figure out what's working in that genre so that you can like find a way to put that in your series. It's a whole nother thing to just literally take exactly what's happening. For example's
Mm-hmm.
sake, right? I feel like okay, so if you go, I like Naruto, so I want to create Team 7, right? If you
Mm-hmm.
just end up creating Team 7 without any work for it, you just literally made something that's recognizable to Naruto fans, right? But
Mm-hmm.
but Team 7 didn't just appear out of nowhere, right? It had to kind of work into that. They had to kind of figure out how that was going to even happen in the series and all that stuff was planned. Like it's not as simple as just doing it. There's a lot more that went into it. But basically, you got to figure out if even if you do that, what am I going to add to that situation? What am I going to do with my inspired Team 7 that will make it stand out? You can't just take it. Also, there's just different ways to use things. You can just do it like that, or you can use it metaphorically. Let me look. A little still here, yeah. Um, there's some stuff in like One Piece. Like think about like how like designs in One Piece are just insane sometimes, but they're great. And how like if Oda was just copying Dragon Ball specifically, he would have never created One Piece. Like it would have never
Mm-hmm.
looked and felt the way it does. There's designs in One Piece that are just absolute crazy. They don't look cool because Oda doesn't go for cool necessarily. He has his own interpretation of what is cool. It's almost
Mm-hmm.
like if it looks weird, then it's cool for him. Like that's what he's going for. Like, and because it looks weird, you get do a double take. You're like, wait, what is that? You're like, what? Like, yo, he actually made that into a thing? Like, what the heck? Like, and it makes you have to, do the whole don't judge a book by its cover thing over and over again. To like everything he's ever made in One Piece, because it doesn't matter how goofy it looks, silly it looks, it's gonna serve a purpose. You just gotta give it some time, and you'll see it. And he does that with storytelling, whereas though over and over again he's proving your ability to judge him wrong over and over again by making sure that things pan out and become something, which gives him a different level of how you say trust, which you usually don't give a lot of these shonen authors a bunch of your trust because they usually fail you when it comes to making things kind of like pan out in the end. If I tell you, yo, pay attention to this thing over and over again, but I never do anything with it, it's gonna make me feel a little dead inside. Whereas though, when you talk to me and tell me to watch out for this thing, I'm not gonna actually be listening to you because you always say that, but nothing ever happens with it. But not in One
Mm-hmm.
Piece. So be your own self. Put some of yourself in the stories you're telling. Do not be afraid to be preachy. Like, don't listen to people who talk about Comics Gate or whatever the heck that is. I heard something about that a while
Comics
ago.
gate.
Like, just do what you want with your story. If you want to say something about any type of rights or any type of thing going on in your life, in your story, because it affected you, and you can put it down in a way that other people can understand that, you should definitely do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree, bro. Like,
But also, y'all, please study your craft. Please,
nah,
please study like
Study
basic
beyond your
like
craft too, by the way. Don't just
yeah,
study your
beyond your
craft.
craft. Yeah,
Like,
beyond your craft, but like if you're gonna make a comic, please learn story writing. Like learn it, learn it, learn it. And the more like when I say learn it, not in a way like not in like any kind of way, but other than just being like there's fundamentals in writing a story that could help you better learn how to tell your story. You
mm-hmm,
know what I mean? The same way learning how to draw boxes and different kinds of volumes and in 3D shapes and different kind of angles and shit helps you draw a human figure or any kind of item or any kind of thing in your own expressive way and make it look 3 dimensional. Same way as that, like it has a fundamental base to it. Learn it. You know what I mean? And once you learn it, you'll learn how to tell your story the way you want to tell it. You know what I mean? It is a craft. It is an art. Because I say this because I've seen so many artists, good ones or even like kind of novice ones. They just go straight to writing for their comic, and they do not write very well. And I assume it's because they think that their art or something will kind of
David.
help them, or
Yeah.
just kind of like just kind of help them or something like that. But it's like no, it takes two to tango when it comes to comics, bro. It's part art and part story. I would say it's more story than art because you forget that we have niggas like one, and his art is not the best. His art's
Yeah.
pretty okay for what it's worth, but it's not the best. But it's the story that keeps you reading.
Yep.
It's the story that keeps you reading. So definitely, brush up on your writing and stuff like that, and then you'll be good. You'll be good. It's a process, but it's a fun process if you make it fun. It's all up to you at the end of the day. We can't make it fun for you. If you don't
Yep.
have fun doing it, and don't force yourself to do it either, by the way.
Yeah,
Because I
that's
know a lot of
another
people,
thing. Oh
yeah,
man.
a lot of people force themselves to do certain things. It's like, bro, if you really do not enjoy doing that shit, do not do it. Do not do it because you feel like it's easy money or easy exposure. Do not do it because it's not fun for you. It's not helping you. Because if you don't do it, don't do it. Don't force yourself to do something you don't want to do, bro.
Yeah.
Like figure it out fast, figure it out early, so you don't end up down a whole rabbit hole of regret and a bunch of other bullshit I don't want to get into. Just
Yeah.
trust me.
But yeah, everyone, thanks so much for listening. Um, as you can see, today is a little different. Working on my own art here and there. Um, my own characters, and was trying out swatching some colors from my new gouache set. And right now, I am doing some watercolor over my character Samara. Uh, and I think it's turning out okay. But yeah, love talking about storytelling and art stuff with everyone. I think we're gonna do this more often, and we'll probably be doing a podcast eventually. I just have to ask everyone of my friends and stuff like that when they'll be free, and we can talk about some different things. But like, yeah, I hope some of this stuff sticks up in your mind, and you kind of go forth thinking about some of it. Um, Definitely, if you are going to do comics, you are storytelling, even if you're only doing the art, just think about it from the perspective of you're a storyteller, and yes, you could draw your butt off, right? You could flex all day long, but that story ain't gonna hit unless you make those images fit that story. Like, it doesn't matter how much you can outdraw people, like, for example's sake, right? Berserk has some of the best art, if not the best art in any manga you've probably ever seen. But a lot of people don't think about the fact that Miura also wrote that story.
He wrote that story, yo.
So when
It's
you
not
think
the
about it, you
adaptation
shouldn't just think
enough.
of it like, oh, this guy could draw really well. Like, no, his name's on that book by itself. He wrote the story too. And you should definitely think about that because he made natural speaking like work for his characters. They talk and doesn't sound like, like something's off necessarily by much, if at all. They talk normal. So if you want to make something that sounds like normal speech patterns, there's things out there to study. Books,
Mm-hmm.
movies, definitely movies, because you can actually hear people
Going outside and touching some grass.
going outside and touching some grass, talking about an idea with a friend that you know,
Mm-hmm.
recalling that, and going,
Oh yeah,
did I have to
yeah.
give all give all this
That's a
information?
good. That's a good part. Like, please share your writing work with your friends. Please get
Yes.
get some insight, because like you get very tunnel vision, and you could think you creating the best fucking thing in the world until you say that shit out loud or show a different person, and you like, wait, hold up. It's like having dreams, bro. It's like having a dream. You think you had the coolest dream ever. You say that shit out loud, and you like that shit. did not sound as cool as I remember it. So yeah, don't be afraid to share your work, and don't be afraid for the criticism that might come. It's all to help you create the best works that you can create. I remember I was reading this thing called a Ken, and
Mhm.
it was really good. It was really good. Like it's like Chris was talking about. Altrodesi was talking about. You know what I mean? It's like the art is really good, but you gotta realize the author also wrote it.
Mm-mm.
He also wrote it. The author of Akin wrote that shit. Crazy.
Yeah. I get it though. A lot of us artists have these big egos and we want to be great artists too. But if you're talking about a comic, man, if you're talking about a manga, definitely like those guys are storytellers. They sit in these rooms and they get all their materials together and they'll sometimes do it for years just gathering up all these materials to figure out how best to tell their story. And they'll just dive in. They'll just sit there and just work on it and work on it as long as they can until they feel like it's good. And then you finally hear about it. Takehiko Inoue, he wrote Slam Dunk. He
Mm-hmm.
wrote that. You read those words? He didn't just get someone to write that. He wrote it and drew it. Same thing goes for Vagabond. Though Vagabond is a kind of an adaptation, he still wrote the adaptation of whatever he was, adapting
Uh,
to fit what he was drawing to give out those situations. And the amazing part is there's definitely some parts in Vagabond that don't have as much words to them to like accentuate the mood or the situation of what was happening with the character. And that's another thing you got to be able to figure out how you want to do your storytelling style. It's a lot of things to go over, but like don't like not put yourself into it. Like have fun, but do your research, put yourself into it. And if you want to depict an emotion, find a way to put yourself in it, some part of yourself. Even if you recall, not just, yo, I remember being that person. What if you saw someone going through that in your life? Some type of thing similar to that. Then you can recall how you felt for that situation, and now you might want to make the reader feel that way. If you felt disgusted when you saw some type of domestic abuse, some sort of violence, maybe you want people to feel that. That's what you're doing with these scenes. You're not showing someone a scene. You're essentially making the reader experience the scene. They should be experiencing it as it's happening in the moment they're reading it. That's what elevates these stories. Definitely when you have a character who literally like you feel like that character would react like you, those are some of the best ones. Because when you're reading it, you already know what the character's about to do. Character's about to get violent because something messed up is going on. You already know it's about to go down next chapter. You get to the end of that, they just show you do facial expression. Maybe it's just an eye. You're like, oh man, you already know what's about to happen, right? And you gotta try to do the same thing when you do stories. You gotta give people enough to where as though they can start predicting the things that you want them to predict, and essentially missing hopefully some things that you're trying to hide from them every now and then, right? That way you're dropping breadcrumbs for them to follow that will lead them a certain way, and you want to essentially outdo their expectations. There's a lot of stuff to this, but honestly, it's a bunch of having fun, writing things down, trying things out, talking to your friends, seeing what your ideas sound like to them, and then making some adjustments here and there, and then going forward. But there's no rush, you know, unless someone's paying you, and if they're forcing you to produce this stuff on a very fast basis, then hopefully they're paying you enough to work that hard. But when you're doing it for yourself, you don't need to necessarily put yourself through the ringer with this stuff. But these are some of the things I feel like you should think about. But yeah, that'll be it for me, everyone. I'll see you guys on Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we will probably be working on another illustration and maybe some more talking like this. If you guys enjoy it, please like the video. If you like the content I'm throwing up, please subscribe to the channel. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Peace, everyone. Also, if you see any fan art on any of the sites that I frequent, Instagram, Twitter, see any fan art that I've done traditionally, you can buy it. Go ahead and message me with the one you're interested in, We'll set up everything you need so that we can ship you this piece, and we'll go over whatever price tag we settle for. Yeah. All right, everyone. I'll see you guys next time.
Okay.
I believe that nigga.